Hi, my name is Daniel Natal, and I have 5 fingers. I feel the need to put this on my name tag, as well as on my LinkedIn page, in case you couldn't tell that I have 5 fingers. Contrary to bigots out there, not everyone has 5 fingers per hand. Some people lost a finger in a sheet metal press. Others might have been born with a rare genetic condition giving them 6 fingers. Now, even though 99.98% of the population has 5 fingers per hand is no reason to presume that I have 5 fingers. I always live my life around statistical improbabilities, which is probably why I'm wrong a lot. But no, it's not me. It's everyone else. And anyone who says that we have 4 fingers per hand and a thumb is a bigot. Before Columbus, geographer Halford Mackinder said that medieval Europe was pent up into a narrow region threatened by external barbarism. Though history isn't taught anymore, it's good to remember that Columbus couldn't follow his hero Marco Polo across Asia to China, because in the intervening centuries, Islam rose up and cut off the Silk Road to European travelers. As a result of this, Columbus came up with the scheme of sailing around to the other side to get to Asia. So he avoided a clash of civilizations because the world was an open system. He could escape backwards out into the sea. Tensions with Islam before Columbus's trip were ramped up, see the Crusades. But after he discovered a backdoor channel, it released a lot of tension like a pressure valve. That's why Mackinder wrote, "From the present time forth, in the post-Columbian age, we shall again have to deal with a closed political system, and none the less that it will be one of worldwide scope." What does this mean? It means that when you cease having nation-states and create a global empire, you create a system in which no one can avoid confrontation. If tensions escalate, there's nowhere to go. You take the flight out of the fight-or-flight equation. Imagine what would have happened in world history between Christendom and Islam if Columbus hadn't opened up the Americas and gained access to massive new resources. Herbert Spencer makes an allusion to this in Study of Sociology, where he says that Europe escaped a Malthusian situation by accident when it stumbled upon the resources of the New World. He writes, "But the type of each society is continually being modified by 2 causes, by growth and by the actions, warlike or other, of adjacent societies. Increase in the bulk of a society inevitably leads to changes of structure." He talks about all the building social pressure in the Old World that was alleviated when Europeans had the ability to sail west and found new societies in scarcely populated continents. Why I mention all this is because of China's rising tensions with the current global empire. This is covered in Destined for War by Graham Allison. He talks about how in history, when you have a rising empire and a declining empire, in 12 cases out of 16, they went to war. What he leaves out, of course, is that war happened even in the best of times, when we had an open system and countries could flee somewhere else to avoid open hostilities. The West disastrously encouraged China to industrialize. Adam Smith in The Wealth of Nations in 1776 said that whenever this happens, you now create a rival for raw materials to make industrial products. And that's what's happening now. China has a thirst for natural resources and is now jockeying for position in Africa, South America, Canada, and now even Antarctica, where they're now calling it the Polar Silk Road. Of course, natural resources are finite, and man's thirst for profits is endless. So as more countries wrestle for these resources, it increases the likelihood for war, especially now that we're in a closed system and there's essentially nowhere left to go. It's like being locked in a cage match where the door only opens after one opponent is dead. And this, friends, is the great danger of the so-called New World Order, the one world economic system where you have no alternatives. It becomes a zero-sum game, a winner-takes-all match. There's no retreating to undiscovered continents. There's no permission to live and let live. A borderless world has the same design flaws as a submarine whose doors have all been removed. In the old subs, if they sprung a leak, they could spin a valve, shut the hatch, and isolate the contagion. In a sub where all the hatches are removed, if it springs a leak, you're doomed. The whole thing goes down. Likewise, in our wonderful new borderless world, if a large country like China industrializes and requires raw materials to maintain their unsustainable growth model, they're going to come into conflict with NATO and the Atlanticist economic grid. And unlike the past, there's nowhere to run. Speaking of China, only 2 countries in world history came back from the brink when their cultures collapsed. It happened due to a moral revolution. It happened during the Byzantine Empire, and once again in China with Confucius spreading the gospel of ethics. I just so happen to have published my own book on the subject called Actionable Ethics. You can find it on Amazon.com in both the print and audiobook version. Check it out.